Hey, everybody, good to see you here. We're going to be starting here in just a couple minutes, and I apologize for muting out, but I am back now. So if you have any pre-show questions, please let me know, and we can discuss anything with regard to artificial intelligence. Just let me know what you guys are thinking, and we'll get into the show in just a minute. Today, we're going to talk about some of the changes in the browser world as far as the different systems out there, and it's moving so quickly, it's really hard to keep up. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about Atlas, and it's not so much applicable unless you have the actual Mac OS, which is going to be the Apple product. It's not out on PC, but there's a lot of things that are going to be changing, and I know I've been talking to some about marketing and advertising for the real estate business, and it's not complicated to potentially beat out the other people out there that are basically using those same channels. Zillow gets a lot of organic inquiries just because they branded themselves so well. But that doesn't mean us as agents or mortgage brokers can't get that same access. But there's two different sides of that coin. There's free and there's paid for. In the free realm, that's done organically. That's done by publishing content that people find interesting. And take it from me, I post real estate content every day, and it is just not the most interesting stuff unless somebody is looking into real estate. So I know some of the folks on the call that we usually have, they're very good at adding in more than just real estate stuff. So that being the case, it would be important for you to do the same. So if you are in real estate and you have family stuff or you have people that love you and they don't mind being put on camera, that's not a bad ad. In addition, you can go in and make up everything completely as well. Not that I would say to go out there and lie about things, but maybe they don't want you to use their actual photograph, their actual picture. There's now AI that you can use to build around that kind of content for people that are in your periphery instead of actually using their own pictures. And you can talk about things from the past. That's something else that I think people aren't getting into enough. So real estate's one venture. You can talk about that. You can talk about the market, talk about those particular updates that are happening. But then on the other side of that, it's important for you to also talk about things that are non-real estate. Now, I know that myself and others on this particular call today are very much of the school that people don't want to see your Bentley or your 300 or how much are they? $1 million Provost RV. It's not super interesting, at least not in our circles. I guess when you climb up the realm and you're a Rogan and a Tate or these people that are massively famous, I guess people like to see that stuff. But as far as real estate, because people are paying you a fee to represent them in the sales and the selling of a residence or the purchasing of a residence, they really don't want to see it. So that being said, that organic channel is important, but then on the other side of it, you have the paid for channel. And I know that I've been on a few calls. I test. I like to call in and see what other people are offering as far as when they talk about AI strategies or they talk about bringing a business in and basically building their acquisition team and their marketing team and their agency team and what they actually do. And realistically, it's stuff that isn't too far fetched from doing ourselves. And I do know that back in the day, there were a lot of content writers out there that seemed to get agents in trouble because they didn't write like that particular agent. And you might be a particular flavor for somebody. They might want to team up and go with you, and that's great. That's what makes you different from the other people. But when you have somebody else writing your content for you, at least to a point, it starts to look fake. And when people meet you, they're unable to really connect those dots. And maybe you're just so much different. It's the same case in point of the agents back in the day that are still using their historical real estate agent photograph back from the 1960s with them on the phone and looking fresh and young. And then when a client meets them today, it is quite a shock. So, that being said, let's move into today's show and let's talk a little bit about Atlas. The Atlas AI system has come about basically what it's a replacement of a browser. So it's Chat GPT's version of Chrome or of Safari or of Microsoft's browser, whichever one you happen to use. I think most of us probably use Chrome on today's call, but other than that, there are other browsers that we use. I know I switch back and forth to Safari as well. In addition to that, I also talk about using incognito mode on all of these. If you're going to run a search, you're going to want to you're going to want to do the search a couple different ways. You want to do it as you're logged into your browser, because in Chrome, if you have Gmail, you're attached to your browser in that regard. When you're running a search, it's going to be biased as to your particular search habits, how you search, and how you particularly do things. So you're not going to see a clean search. If you go, and it's using an incognito browser is somewhat like maybe going to a computer that you've never used before, but the specific computer you're now going to, and I don't know if they even have this, but let's say you go to a hotel, they have those little kiosks there and they have that room with computers for business people. It depends on the hotel where it's located, how big that happens to be. I've been in some pretty impressive rooms like that. But when you go in there and you start using that particular computer, it could be that it carries a memory as well. So then that search on that machine is going to be biased as well. To do a completely clean search, you need an incognito browser. So you're going to need to right click, and this is on a PC. You right click on your browser and you choose incognito mode or an incognito window. You can do the same thing on a Mac as well. And I actually got my Mac out because I hadn't yet downloaded the Atlas browser. So I went ahead and did that. Now I have it on Mac OS. And truth be told, this is the first moment I'm playing with it. I've watched probably 30 hours of people talking about the Atlas browser and what that's going to mean to all of us, whether we're in small business or real estate. And it looks like it's going to be pretty exciting, but it's very reminiscent of Chrome. It's built on that same platform. How Google was able to sell that off and allow that to be used, I'm not sure. At the end of the day, you see a lot of these AI companies fighting with each other and at odds with each other. I'm almost of the school, not to get political, but I'm almost as this of the school that they're all in it together. And even though they make a big show of them not being, just like we have the Democrats and the Republicans, I think at the end of the day, it's like a couple of attorneys that are on opposing sides of a particular case. After that, they high five, they go have a drink together, and everything's fine. It's only when they get into that realm they put the show on. It seems like that could be the case with these AI systems and all of the arguments and fights and all of the different stresses that they seem to display publicly and the hate that they show off to each other. Looking at that and seeing where we are today, I think we'll have to keep watching and see what happens. But we have that particular Atlas browser on Mac OS. So if you have an Apple computer, you can download it. It's not available in the App Store. So you're going to have to do a search on your Mac, or you can go into your Chat GPT if you're logged in on your Mac, or even go just to Chrome and you would basically download it from ChatGPT, the Atlas browser, and you'll see that. It's not in the App Store, at least now, as of 10:08 a.m. on 10/27/2025. So if you're watching this later, it might be in the App Store, but it's something that you can download, and it is based on the Chrome architecture, it seems. And once you pull that, you'll be able to use it. It does have an interesting sidebar configuration, just like ChatGPT, but it's basically their version of the Chrome browser, or their version, if you use Safari, their version of a complete browser. The information that now AI is giving us, and this is what's going to be relevant to real estate agents and even small businesses and headhunters that are in the game trying to find business, the information that it gives us is very little. With the Google results, if you remember, and I'm sure a lot of you still use Google, I do as well, because sometimes I want more to choose from, like salad dressing. There's 15,000 different types of salad dressing. I'm not sure who needs that much, but with regard to what you're getting on a Chat GPT or a Grok or these other systems, when you're asking for information or a particular type of business, it's giving you very few. it's up to us to try to get into that result. And that's what I talk about during these shows, how to get present. And then, of course, using AI to implement automation. So you have to do less. And I know that there's systems out there where you can build your own agent. It's basically you're building a workflow. You're building something that's going to obey commands. You put in that you are interested in publishing real estate content. And you then instruct it to go and find real estate content based on the Santa Clarita real estate market. And then the next step, after it finds the content, then it's going to use a particular or orders or an algorithm that's then going to put that content into a particular organizational structure. After it gets the content in that organizational structure, you might then make the argument that it shouldn't be publishing other people's content, but to protect you in some way from plagiarism, for example. So then the content's going to be modified so it's no longer in the original purpose. It's still going to be reflective of the idea and the thought, but it's not then going to be able to be connected with somebody else's content. And then from there, after it has what you're going to need, then you could potentially have it branded for you. This is part of that process using an agentic workflow. And then after it's branded for you, then you then have it parsed out to wherever places that you're going to have it put. If you want a video made from it using some kind of a placeholder or a clone of yourself with your voice or a different voice or wearing a particular costume or just as yourself, you can then have that system do that. Then you can also have it create a different video, maybe with a different character or a different avatar. And then you can have that produced as well. So now you have a few different pieces of content. You can also have it put that content in written form and then also have that information to be able to put in to a particular blog or blog post. And then from there, and this is one of the most important things, and when you're publishing content, remember this, you're going to need some place where people can interact with you besides that particular social media channel. If you have Facebook, for example, I know that the system that I build, it has interactions with Facebook. It'll be able to answer messages. But whenever it answers, it has to be more than just that particular locale. It has to give them an offering of some off-site system. For example, Realty One, if you're here from that organization, included in that membership of being a Realty One agent, you get a website. Now, is it the best, most fantastic website? Sorry, it's not. And there's very few offerings of the best, most fantastic website. That's something that now really is kind of a thing of the past. The website that you need is just a placeholder. It should have your name in the URL at the top, or with Realty One, it's easy to get your name typically, unless your name's John Smith. There might be multiple John Smiths with that particular brokerage in a global realm. But again, more than likely, you're going to be able to get that. And then from there, within that website, whenever I onboard somebody, either from that company or another, usually they all have that type of ability. And then I'll build a particular page in there. And that's what we share. And that page, what is it going to have? Well, it's going to have a form and maybe be funnel in nature where they're going to go there, see more information, maybe see a video by that particular individual. And the videos to put on those pages, they can either be uploaded directly, depending on the type of website, or you can host it elsewhere. You could do a YouTube video. You could privatize it if you don't want the whole world to see it, because it might be maybe more personal in nature. You can take that embed code of a private nature, so it's only showing not on the main YouTube, but only on the places that you happen to embed it. You can develop that privatization. So now you have that video on that page talking, hi, I'm Connor. I'm with Realty One Group, and so on and so forth. Was reminded last week I need to smile more because people are scared. I didn't realize that was a thing. So now I'm trying to do more videos smiling, but it's not working out very well. But again, everybody's going to have their own flavor. So in that page, also, you're going to need a contact form, something that people can fill out. But besides all of that, you need an offering. What is it that you're doing? What is it you're doing different? You need to make the offer so strong that it's difficult for people to say no. And in fact, if they move away from the page, they're going to feel silly not having said yes or not accepting your offer. With real estate, that's difficult because everybody seems to offer a CMA on residences. Everybody says it's okay, let's go ahead and make an offering and we'll give you exactly what your house is valued. That's not bad. I think maybe a different offering in real estate could be something of let me come by or let me investigate your residence and see how we can best prepare it for sale for the least amount of money to be able to be most competitive with the other listings in your neighborhood. Maybe that's a little bit more than a CMA. Actually, developing that time to go and talk with them, whether they're comfortable or not to meet with you in person, or whether you can do it over the telephone, maybe on some kind of a meeting with your phone, maybe my God, what's it called? FaceTime with that particular person, schedule a 10-minute FaceTime call so they can walk them through as hopefully being their agent of choice. But before that, walking through the residence and giving them tips on what to do to prepare their home for sale. There's always something to find. There's going to be personal pictures in the location, whether you're going to have them venturing into a bedroom that had an office conversion or they use that as their particular office, returning that particular space back to its original intended purpose. Again, another great tip when you're in the kitchen or in those other areas that are providing counter space, looking at those and saying, listen, we need to have as much counter space possible in this particular. And you're always, as you're engaging with them, and that's the money in the melon, when you're engaging with them and talking with them, you are inserting yourself all across. You're not being shy. We list it for sale. I think it would be important when people walk in, they're going to understand that you have this much counter space. I know you probably use these appliances daily, but when it comes time to showing, what we're going to do is I'll give you upfront notice, at least an hour between showings, and I'm going to hold it to you to make sure that these counters are clean so there's no appliances there. Once you get that interaction, you can pull them in and they will become your client because after a 15, 20, 30-minute walkthrough, we've been on this call so far 16 minutes, and it seems like I just started. When you have that interconnected phone call with somebody or even in person, you know how that's going to go. That's going to go even further because you're there. But once you get that FaceTime and you're looking at the property, you're giving value. And that's something different than just giving a CMA on a property. CMA that they could probably go on any of the syndication sites and have peeled off for them very easily. And then, of course, they'll get contacted by 55 agents that are paying that particular site for leads. This is the offering where they need to go. So you need to have that kind of item established on some kind of a website. If you don't have that, I'm more than happy to show you how to build that and put that together. And then that's the link that you share. But talking about AI and the agentic workflows, that's what these systems can do once you get them dialed in. Right now, it's a little cumbersome. Right now, to get all of that set up takes definitely more than a 40-minute show. And it takes a little bit of work just trying to learn those things. So right now, the price of admission is, it might be better to pay somebody to get this done for me and get this workflow put together. But you give it a few months, that's probably going to be the thing of the past, truth be told. I don't see the real estate agent end of it actually not being available. I believe real estate agents, because you need a human in that process to show real estate, to talk to people, to there with them, to protect them during that process. I think that's going to be far in the future unless somebody builds some kind of a business model that's totally agentic and looking at properties becomes something that isn't critical, or they downplay the viewing section in person of that real estate listing as they do everything else from the beginning, venturing into real estate, and then looking might be reduced to just having somebody that only out and just shows a particular piece of property. Maybe that's the way that people will start to look at that. But that still is far removed from today. It's going to take quite a long time. And also, there's way too many experts in the local realm of real estate to be able to do that. All right. So as far as Atlas goes, I did download that particular browser, like I said. On my Mac, I'm using a PC to record this. It looks like it's going to be a game changer. If you do use ChatGPT, you'll see Atlas system just basically operates like a browser. It's going to be capturing information. You're going to be giving it a lot of permissions at the beginning. So if you're going to do it, just be a little wary because that might not be what you actually want. And it's all about permissions. I know that there's some people on this call where of the same generation where, feel a little reluctant at times to give stuff up because we still believe there's some level of privacy left in the world. We believe that the things that we do behind our closed doors aren't anybody else's, don't have the ability to see it. The problem is, maybe as well as I, we start talking about toilet paper on today's show. I have, besides the show, I have something that's listening all the time, waiting for me to say, "Hey Siri." It's just waiting. So how did it know to, is it really that quick? No, it's just constantly listening all the time for "Hey Siri." Whatever other devices you have, they're listening. And why? Well, we've given them permission. There's really no way around it. So if I start talking about toilet paper and I just mentioned "Hey Siri," and there she goes again, or there it goes again. But now I'm going to start seeing in my social media feed everything about toilet paper. Same thing with whatever business you're in. If you're in mortgage, if you're in real estate, everything around you is really talking on those channels. You see a lot of the advertisements you're seeing on Facebook and these other platforms. Whether you're in real estate, then it's talking about selling you leads and getting you leads in real estate. So, as I talked about that before, this is something that I harp on. You can go to a company and have them build out a real estate platform and build you a lead platform. I've been looking into these numbers, $6,000, $7,000. Very lucrative for these people that get those contracts. That's right up there with the Zillow fees to be able to get those premium listings from them. But an agent or mortgage broker or small business owner can also do the same by engaging in meta advertising. There's different ways to do it, but just like I mentioned before, you're going to need that place where they can go. You're going to need something where that particular user can get in touch with you besides DMing you on your social media. And then when they do DM you, let's say you had a long night with the fellas and they're coming home and they need to get something done that is right up your alley as far as your business goes. What's that next step? And are you going to be answering that DM at 2 o'clock in the morning? And then how persistent is that person going to be in wanting to get in touch with you? That's the problem. If you're not responding, or if you don't have a system at least in line to be able to respond to that as potentially a human would, or at least somebody that has more than press one for this and press two for this, something more agentic in nature, then you're probably going to miss that client. And if they're very persistent on needing to get done what they want to done, needing to hire that particular entity, they're going to move on. They're going to just quickly switch over to somebody else, the person that does have an agentic system in place that's able to answer that. That's where that AI overlay comes in. That's what all the big talk is about. Now, as far as advertising on Meta, these leads, they're not secret. It's easy to start paying for it, right? Everything's easy to pay for. It's just getting it set up that's a little bit of a problem. Once it is set up, though, then there's testing that has to be done as well. Now, you can just set up an ad on Facebook, which would be Facebook and Instagram potentially. And the information that you're getting from those leads is pretty strong. It's going to have real vetted information. It's going to have name, email. A lot of them are going to be tire kickers. And when the tire kicker comes in and wants to inquire about your mortgage business or real estate business, or maybe they're looking for a place to get hired or looking to be an agent somewhere, what does that look like if, let's say, they're not ready? Is there a system that will just nurture them, take care of them, and somewhat valuable, but something maybe a little bit more, not just an email, but also an SMS, maybe a text message saying, "Hey, listen, we just posted our newsletter and here it is here. Here's a video with what we offer." All of these things don't have to be uncomfortable. I still do daily videos every day. again, about real estate though, so it's not like I'm knocking it out of the park. But when I do a video about a cop pulling somebody over, because I have that background as well, those get just amazing views. It's remarkable to me. That's where people's interest is. They like that hate and that anger, and they want to be able to bad talk police. And me being an ex retired cop, that's hilarious because they just let me have it. But I guess that's just the way of the world, right? They want that angry. All right. So when you're putting this together, remember that you need some place for them to go. And that's where we can use AI to ask for that. Now, this agentic workflow I talked about, the thing where you actually go out there, and whether it's organic, as we mentioned, or it's going to be something you pay for, when that lead comes in, you're going to have to capture it. Most of you have access to a CRM, a client or customer relationship management system, CRM. Now, there's systems that are very, very expensive. There's Follow Up Boss is one. There's some other systems out there that are very expensive. There are other systems that I offer that don't cost anything. But the problem, the thing is, what can the system do? How much can it grow? And what's connected to it? If you're able to set different tasks for the system to do, that's important. And earlier I mentioned workflows where people would start with, if somebody comes in and fills out a Facebook form via an ad, then what's going to happen next? How are they responded to? The system can send out an SMS message. The system can then send out a calendar to book an appointment. The system, if it's AI agentically framed, it'll also be able to then ask that caller, if it happens to be a phone, they'll be able to say, you have any time in the upcoming week to meet with Connor or meet with whomever. And then the system itself could offer, well, he's available Tuesday at 3 or Wednesday at 4. Do either one of those sound fine? And then even the caller says, well, does he have anything later, maybe 7 p.m. on Thursday? And then the system will say, let me check. And it'll actually go to my calendar or your calendar and verify that that time slot is available. Now, let's say I don't work that late for whatever reason. Let's say that's not in my frame. What'll end up happening is I will be notified this person called. I'll be notified of that conversation. I can also have something different injected into the conversation so they leave with a very high percentage of them booking an appointment, even if I'm not available that late in the evening. But if I'm not, and they sticking to that time, I can also have something else happen from that system to verify that I'll be able to reach out to them and make them a special appointment for that particular time so they feel like they were taken care of and don't leave wondering if you're actually going to call or not. Finishing everything up to the maximum point in which it can be handled during those times, that's very important. So the first thing that we do is you need to, of course, find that large language model of reference. And I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here because this is something that I prepared for the show. You notice I don't have any slides today. I had ChatGPT prepare an entire slideshow and it was great, but the system glitched and crashed. You're going to run into that. But one thing that I did is, if you're watching this, a lot of times when you're engaging with these large language models, they're very nice, they're very kind, they're very compassionate, they tell you things, and you almost want to just the relationship on that platform. The issue is, maybe you should ask it not to be so nice, not to BS you, not to play games with you, to be completely upfront and honest with you, especially when you're asking it about your business. And then maybe you're venturing into that realm of asking it to be more critical about you and your business. Maybe, honestly, you're not doing everything you really could be doing to build your business. If we're being completely honest, maybe there's times that you're stuck on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube and you're not learning, you're just scrolling and you're looking at how successful everybody else is telling the world that they are. That's a big problem. In some cases, that eats up hours every day. If you all should pull back just a little bit from all this technology and reframe ourselves in a better way. If you're stuck in that world of continuous scrolling, you're not doing what potentially you need to be doing for your business. When you're talking to these large language models and you ask it to not be polite, you like that sort of thing, you want it to kind of S&M, you can do that too. But I'm just saying, tell it to just be more forthright, more honest, be a little bit more hard on you. Act like a mentor that really cares, maybe somewhat like a drill instructor would, somebody that's going to really help you all the way through that process and isn't going to let you chicken out or have the lazy way out or distracted. That's another thing a lot of us have issues with. If you're in real estate or you're in small business and you have this entrepreneurial mindset, sometimes that shiny thing gets our attention and we leave for hours. But it's a commitment, right? We commit to the shiny thing. Even though we should be committed to something else, we focus on the shiny thing and we just chase it off into the wild blue yonder. And then it's not till hours later we realize, oh my God, you need to get back to this. This is how I make a living. I need to come back to that. If you tell the system maybe some of your habits, it will get you back where you need. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? A lot of people are going to say, well, you should be able to do it yourself. Well, if you could do it yourself, you probably would have already done it. In addition, if we look at coaching and these people that are in real estate that are charging $1,000, $5,000 a month to coach you, realistically, it's about accountability, right? You have a human being on the other end of the phone. It's not that they're telling you a secret. It's not like the purpose of my show is to show you things you might not already know. And hopefully you'll practice those and you'll get better at them. And then you can move on. And it's basically teaching you how to fish because once you learn how to fish, once you learn the not to get screwed by the people telling you they're going to sell you the next best thing in artificial intelligence or with making more money in your business. As soon as you understand those games, and then you figure out through practice and through how we share things here on the show about how to make your business better, the secret sauce. That's the weapon. So now you have that. Now you know how to fish. Now you know how to get those fish. In a lot of cases out there, we can build all of that, but then it's the execution part we have an issue with. I talk to a lot of people every week about video. You have to do it, whether it's going to be you doing video or you getting an AI clone that's going to speak the video for you. That's fine, at least for now. There's no really proof that has to be offered yet. And I'm not talking about legalese and real estate and what the board says and the NAR and the CAR about us doing that. I'm just talking in general. There are some systems out there that want that particular content identified as being AI generated content, but then it gets a little bit more gray when you look at you preparing the content or you using AI to prepare it, but you have your own issues, your own inferences, you're basically modifying through iteration, making that content a particular way just for you, then it starts to gray out a little bit whether or not you have to say that this was AI generated or partially AI generated or whatever. But right now, if you're not doing video, you're missing a big part of the world out there because that's where it is. Now, the video that people are putting out, they're rabbits jumping on trampolines, they're eating more spaghetti. Now you can't even tell that it's fake. And there are a lot of things like that. The gorillas talking, you've seen all of them. Now they're using famous people from the past, like throwing people up against walls. That's kind of a new one. It's crazy. And that slop is what they call it. It's just going to continue. You shouldn't be a part of that, but you should, and you can build an entire channel off of AI slop. Don't get me wrong, and probably make a lot of money. But if you're really focused on real estate or your small business, that's where those videos need to be. That's what they need to be about. And also at the beginning of this, I mentioned real estate's great, but only really for those people that are interested in real estate. So you need to break away and you need to be that real estate agent talking about your favorite coffee shop and what houses might be within walking distance to your favorite coffee shop. You go to that Starbucks at Bouquet Canyon and Newhall Ranch Road, and you do a little bit of a show out there, maybe outside the drive-through, or maybe on that walking path that's just behind it. You film back to the Starbucks and you talk about walking. That's the kind of video you do. And you hold your phone up and you do it. The trick is with that, and I say this every show, you got to make sure the audio is good. If you have the wind blowing and that, it's turned people off. So get yourself a microphone. This is this Rode here, Video Mic 2. It's 50, $60. It uses a USB-C connection. It's the same thing, goes in the bottom of the iPhone, USB-C. So you take this, you have your phone, and you hold the mic and you do a show. You can mount the mic on the fence. You can carry a tripod with you and set it up, whatever it may be. But you talk about that local thing going on besides just maybe the coffee shop. You tie that Starbucks in with a walking walking paths, and people love that. And then you talk about those houses that are just east of there in River section. It's me, but you talk about those houses out there, what those price ranges look like, what the different configurations are. That's you do it. So now you're not focused on real estate. You're becoming more of this neighborhood influence, and people are going to really click through and they're really going to absorb that. Now, the trick with that is you need to have somewhere where those people that are watching can go with a particular offering. If you want to see what residences are for sale close to this location, or if you want me to put together a do not list when it gets ready for you to sell your house, let me know. We're just going to need a few minutes, but I'm willing to do this for you. No charge, no obligation. Maybe that's that type of offering, but you're going to need an offering. In every different sector, every different business, there's some kind of an offering. And those free inspection offerings, that free CMA offering, it's just not going to cut it anymore. You're going to need something more robust for that. So to figure that out really by your own ways, in your own methods, go to ChatGPT or your favorite AI and ask it, what kind of offerings could I make as being a real estate agent in Santa Clarita Valley that doesn't look like that normal free CMA type offering? What can I do that would be different? Give me 10 examples. And with each of these offerings, give me the proper scripts. Give me the way that I would talk on camera. Give me the complete of everything that I would say. And then also give me the social media posts. That's how we use it. One final thing. Does that make us lazy? I think having to go through that and having to keep asking it questions, not accepting it, what it gives us at that first, I try to get three out of it before I lean into one particular thing it tells me. I try to get three responses. It's called iteration. So I try to iterate three times. The first time, I'll ask it more globally, more ambiguously, not really dialing anything down. But then, depending on its response, I might say, well, this is what I was thinking. I was thinking presenting it more in like maybe a roast form. Roast, not cooking in the oven roast, but like roast or one of those old roasts where they basically go after each other. The final thing also, I'll finish with this. Whenever you're doing content, remember, it's not SEO anymore. It's not search engine optimization. All of these AI systems, and we haven't seen the ads really come about yet, but they're working on it, trust me. When Google first started, there weren't any ads in place. Realistically, Google came about because it was giving you the best results. Now Google has that massive advertising overlay, so you see a lot of sponsored ads everywhere. AI is still virgin territory, forgive me, is still wide open for that. There is no advertisement, at least not yet. But now we have the Atlas browser with ChatGPT. I think the browser component is really what's going to be that future form of advertising. So that might be something else. But right now, the king of the day, as far as advertising goes, cheapest pay per click and results are going to be the Facebook Meta. Google pay per click, it's really not where you need to put your money. There are that are putting their money in that realm, but they're just not getting the return. Those pay per click numbers are huge. They're very expensive. Facebook Meta, $2 to $8, depending per lead and depending on how the offering you have and where those people are going to interact with you and to give you further information about them. And then most dependent of all, you can get their information, but you got to know how to sell it. You got to know how to close it, and you got to know how to be of interest to them to want to build off business with you. All right. So a lot of training today, a lot more about what we should be doing versus what we're not doing. And let me know if anybody in the room has any questions or anything else. And I do appreciate everybody's time today. Very good. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I'll be adding this to SantaClaritaAI.com. If you haven't visited that community and joined up, it's free. There's no charge. You're more than welcome to. And I'll put today's class and the show notes under that particular tab for today's date at SantaClaritaAI.com. I appreciate everybody watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and have a fantastic rest of your week.